Hi everyone, this is Daniel here, and this is my snap review of NXT from April 13th, 2021. This was a fun episode of NXT, as is usually the case. We saw a number of things here. We saw the tag team champions come out, MSK, defending against Killian Dane and Drake Maverick. And this was a good match. Unfortunately for MSK, the small crowd that they have coming into the Capitol Wrestling Center is not too fond of them. You could tell that the fans are jeering them, booing them. And this is, of course, a byproduct of how oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes these baby faces are booked. Now, this isn't really the fault of like Triple H and HBK and the rest who are creative for NXT. This is just the backlash that usually happens for super baby faces, if you will. People who seem to have the skill in the ring, but not the charisma on the mic. And both members of MSK really don't have the charisma on the mic, at least that we've seen so far. So, in essence, they have not earned the respect of the NXT audience. But either way, move on, and of course, we move on to the next thing. I mean, there were certainly some important stuff that happened beyond the tag team title match, but we saw like Mercedes Martinez confront the Robert Stone brand. Robert Stone himself, she came up and was like demanding her money for her participation in the women's tag team championship match alongside Aaliyah. This was pretty funny, and of course she was directly challenged by Kamea, which of course led to a decent match later on the night that Mercedes won. It was short, but it was sweet. And of course Mercedes ended up beating up Robert Stone anyways and getting her money, which was fun. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, they showed like an exclusive video from the aftermath of TakeOver, and both of them were taken out on gurneys, while Adam Cole was basically telling Kyle O'Reilly that he's going to be dead soon. So that's fun. Legado del Fantasma came out with Santos Escobar coming out and issuing an open challenge for his Cruiserweight title. Kushida came out, much to the delight of everyone in the audience, and then Kushida won the championship, which I was thinking to myself watching, like, on the one hand, if Santos Escobar had just won the Cruiserweight title at TakeOver, there would have been a very slim chance that Kushida would have won. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, he's been champion for about a year now. So it made sense, and this was kind of like Kushida's payoff for putting over Pete Dunne, and guess what? They put over Kushida, and it was a great match, and I'm so happy for Kushida. He deserves this. So then we go on. Ciampa and Thatcher say that, they're gunning the tag team titles, and that was good. After that, we saw Pete Dunne with the promo following Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez coming down and celebrating Raquel's victory of the championship. And she was joined in the ring by Frankie Monet, also known as Taya Valkyrie from Impact, or TNA. And this was awesome because I'd never seen her outside of Impact before, and I have to get used to her not being Taya Valkyrie anymore. But Frankie Monet, she kind of made her presence known. I'm making it known to Raquel Gonzalez that this is her division, and that she will be coming for that women's tag team titles, not tag team titles, but the women's title soon enough. But then, out of nowhere, Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, the Raw and SmackDown Women's Champions, joined Raquel Gonzalez for a little, kind of like a photo op, if you will. But they reunited, showing that these three women who were really close in NXT in their early part of their NXT careers, they're all champions now, and it was a great moment. So I was very happy for all three of them. Like I said, Pete Dunne had a promo saying basically he's going to go after the championships that he defeated Kushida in sound fashion, and he did. And now, of course, we expect him to pursue gold. Will he become a champion anytime soon? Well, I actually see him becoming NXT champion in the near future. He probably won't defeat Karrion Kross, but he's definitely going to become champion. I'd say probably by the end of this year or by mid next year. Either way, it's going to happen. And after that, we saw Roderick Strong apparently hand in his papers, resigning from NXT. Obviously, this is a story, otherwise they wouldn't be covering it like this. But it's going to be kind of sad to not see Roderick Strong for a minute. We saw Isaiah Swerve Scott, and Leon Ruff have a really good match. This was a lot of fun. They always put on a great match, but I enjoyed this, and Swerve, of course, got over. So this is great stuff, and of course, following the break, we saw them We saw Leon Ruff attack Swerve again, so that was good. Zoe Stark and Martinez kind of setting up for a feud in the near future. Looking forward to that. Volta had a promo regarding had a promo regarding Imperium and how they're dominant, and how they're here to stay, how they're going to grow, sort of hinting that they might have a new member soon. So probably still hinting that Thatcher might be traded, because they never really resolved that yet. And then, of course, we had a fun 8-person mixed tag team matchup. I definitely enjoyed this, as The Way took on Dexter Lumis, Bronson Reed, Shotzi Blackheart, and Ember Moon. This was good stuff. Probably the part that made me laugh, like, 2 parts made me laugh really hard. Everything with Austin Theory. Everything. He's hilarious. I don't care. I just love the guy. He's freaking funny. Period. End of story. And, oh yeah, I forgot to mention one other thing before I continue on the 8-person tag. Jordan Devlin confronted Kushida, and it looks like we're going to have some kind of feud in the future as soon as Devlin comes back from overseas. But anyways, back to the 8-person tag. The funniest part though was Dexter Lumis taking Indy Hartwell, as Indy Hartwell is faking that she's fainted, and she's the damsel in distress, and Dexter Lumis rescued her, much to the delight of Indy Hartwell. So that was funny. And of course, at the end of the day, the team, Bronson Reed, Shotzi, and Moon, absent of Lumis, defeated The Way. Just a fun match. Great episode of NXT. They have a new theme song, which is the song from Poppy that we heard Poppy perform at TakeOver. And that wraps up the first episode of NXT on Tuesdays, following the end of the Wednesday Night Wars, the so-called Wednesday Night Wars. Might as well just call it a Wednesday Night Skirmish. Anyways, catch you next time. Now, onward to AEW from the 14th. This was a decent show. There were some weak points here and there, but it was, I think, relatively good. It opened up with the Young Bucks having like a little video for why they've turned heel, which is okay. MJF got into Mike Tyson's face about being fair and whatnot, and Mike Tyson, MJF offered him a check and kind of trying to pay him off, and then Mike Tyson ripped it up and chewed on it, like he ate it, and then he spit it back in his face. That part was kind of funny to me. Tag title match, Young Bucks defending against Pac and Phoenix, which I'm going to say this again. I am annoyed by the tag team of Pac and Phoenix. Pac is a singles wrestler. Phoenix and Penta have to be together. They should be together. The Lucha Brothers, they're one of the greatest tag teams in the world. Why are they not together? It just makes no sense to me. Anyways, this match, of course, was good. Young Bucks, they retained. Of course, Adam Page and Dark Order had an interview. Adam Page kind of going off the rails again with him being a drunkard. He hasn't really been seen drinking a lot here as of late, but now he's right back at it. Kind of going deeper into that hole. Inner Circle had an interview, of course, with Mike Tyson. Tyson saying he's going to call it down the middle. And, of course, he ended up doing so later on in the show. Ogogo took on Cole Carter, and I guess I forgot to mark who won this. It was Ogogo. But Carter here is seemingly talented, but Ogogo is, of course, part of, oh my god, what's his name? QT Marshall's group. I don't know. And we'll see where this goes, but it was probably my least favorite moment of the night. It was too short. It just kind of felt stupid and kind of out of nowhere. Miro had a promo, which was good. He's saying that if Kip Sabian wants to keep running away, then he's just done with them. He's going to keep moving on, and we'll just go from there. We saw that match with Jericho versus Harwood with Tyson as the special enforcer. It was good, a little bit of chaos. I thought I could have sworn that they were saying this was going to be the main event, but I guess I heard it wrong. Jericho won. Post-match chaos, where, of course, Tyson joins up with Inner Circle again in celebration. Callis, Bucks, Good Brothers, Omega had a promo. They super kicked the camera guy at the end of it. Actually, it was Callis who did so. Chris Statlander defeated, I can't remember what her first name was, but Nova. Another one of my least favorite moments of the night, only because of its length of time. It was kind of predictable, but it is what it is. They got to get Statlander back into the mix here. Team Taz had an interview. More signs of Brian Cage and Ricky Starks kind of like breaking up amongst each other. Having a feud within the stable, but also showing that this stable is going to just disintegrate probably sometime in the near future. Christian had an interview Taz and Hobbs came out and interrupted them, saying like, "Hey, are you going to join Team Taz?" We've known for a while like there was just no way this was going to happen. And Christian said no, and so Christian got attacked by Hobbs. So that's obviously going to be Christian's next feud. TNT Championship match. It was a good match. Darby Allin defending against Matt Hardy. My only gripe about it is that they kept having Darby Allin kick out of every major move that Hardy did, all of his signature moves, despite the fact that he had like the assistance of some kind of weapon or whatever during all these signature moves. Like it made Matt Hardy look weak, and I was not a fan of that. I'm sorry. So maybe at a pay-per-view, but not on an episode of Dynamite. Alright, so we go on to SmackDown. SmackDown had like a review of WrestleMania. Pat McAfee is the new commentator, which he did a really good job on this episode of SmackDown. He just did. Bloodline had a promo, which if you don't know who the Bloodline is, that's Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, and Paul Heyman, assuming also that Jimmy Uso is in there as well. But we'll just say it's Jey, Roman, and Paul. So they had a promo. It was interrupted by Cesaro, who said he's basically hinted he's going to challenge for the Universal Championship next. And then Roman Reigns ignored him anyway and just left, and then Cesaro didn't even get a chance to speak, although you knew what the point was. Like, he's basically issuing a challenge. Rey Mysterio and Otis had a pretty decent match. Rey won. The reason why I said it was just decent, because it was kind of short. It probably should have been like another 5 minutes longer. But either way, it was okay. It was okay. Rey Mysterio gets a decent win. Otis looks strong, and I like that. Heyman, one thing to say about Otis, sad thing that Tucker was released. This is another example of a tragic case where they break up a tag team that has a lot of potential, and then the less charismatic tag team partner gets released soon after. Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels basically all over again. Paul Heyman had an interview basically saying that the challenge by Cesaro will be accepted because Cesaro was trying to get a match with Roman for a non-title. They said it would leave it up to Paul Heyman. Heyman said it would be against Jey Uso, trying to test the resolve of Cesaro. We saw another Sami Zayn promo, basically saying he's got screwed over again. Kevin Owens comes down, beats him up again. Then we see another match, an impromptu match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Another great match. Not quite WrestleMania level great, but it was still decent. Post-match, of course, saw some more stuff, but this feud is not over yet. Apollo Crews comes out with his, this is Dabba-Kato, but he calls him, I think it was Commandant Aziz. So claims that the man formerly known as Dabba-Kato, or Aziz, that he used to be a member of the elite guard of Nigeria. I know a lot of people feel like their intelligence is being insulted, but I'm into this storyline. I think it makes Apollo Crews look cool. Even I don't care about his fake accent. Like, he's just so talented, and I'm glad to see that he's still involved with something and they're doing something productive with him. Street Profits and Bianca Belair, they have a celebration. And that's cool. And then Sasha Banks has an interview where she's just like infuriated, can't really say anything because she's so mad, and she just leaves. Then we see Bayley have an interview kind of mocking Sasha for being speechless, but then saying that she, Bayley, the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion in history, will soon be champion again, and that she should go after Bianca. That will be a pretty good feud, I think, between Bianca and Bayley. Awesome. SmackDown Tag Team titles on the line as Dirty Dogs defended successfully against Street Profits in another great match. Both teams are just very capable. They need more tag teams in WWE, but I think they are improving. They just are. Then we saw Cesaro with another interview, basically confirming he's going to take it right to Jey Uso if he has to. Shayna Baszler and Natalya had a short but okay match where Natalya won after all the outside of the ring shenanigans between Tamina and Nia. Post-match, we saw, of course, like I was saying, this continued from during the match, all that distraction continued into the post-match. Jey Uso and Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman getting ready. And then, of course, Cesaro takes on Jey Uso in a great match. It was really good, but then Seth Rollins interfered, causing Cesaro to win by disqualification, but also hinting that the feud between Seth and Cesaro is not over yet. It will at least continue through Backlash. Or WrestleMania Backlash, as they call it. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we now prepare for the next match. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, this is Dana Crawford again, and it's been a minute since I've recorded here. Last time I recorded was on the 19th of April, prior to Raw for that week. And I am, of course, heading into this again. I'm going to do a long stretch the last half of April. leading, of course, into the early part of this month, May. But, well, of course, actually, we don't even have to do that because it's going to be from April 19th through April 30th. Great stretch of events here, so I'm just going to go right into it, and you'll see me review all this in a separate video for the, I guess, the final installment. I promised the last one would be, but this is going to be the final installment of the top 10. And it's, what's complicated about this is I wanted to do this on the podcast, but I haven't really had the time to record it for the podcast. So I'm going to have to get around to doing it. I've just been busy campaigning and stuff, and that's part of why I've had this really spotty schedule. So let's get into it now. All right, Raw from April 19th, 2021. This show, I gave it a 9.85. And of course, we're getting into this point where we are recovering from WrestleMania, building up for this new season of WWE. And it kicks off with, a promo from Drew McIntyre interrupted by MVP. And then Mason T-Bar come down. And then, of course, then you have this interview right after the fact. And it's like, Mason T-Bar are really coming into their own here. And, of course, this develops later on in the show. We saw Drew McIntyre telling Adam Pearce that he wants to take on Mason T-Bar. Viking Raiders make their return, which I was really happy about, as they take on well, actually not their return, but they did that the previous week. But they take on Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. Unfortunately, Cedric and Shelton have taken a number of losses since, but they're keeping them as a tag team, trying to keep them interesting. So definitely looking forward to seeing what they're doing with them, but hopefully they actually have something for them. Then we saw, Orton have an interview interrupted by Riddle. And this, of course, develops into a beautiful thing with Riddle and Orton, but we'll get into that in a moment. Orton talks to Adam Pearce. He's pretty much fed up with Riddle. He wants to take him out. Then, of course, we see a video about Charlotte. Charlotte has a promo. She gets interrupted by Asuka and then Rhea Ripley. Because Charlotte's bitter that she wasn't at WrestleMania, and she says that she's the opportunity. And this, of course, she's basically talking about how she's better than Asuka, the women's champion. And, of course, Rhea Ripley also has something to say about that as well. Riddle defeats Randy Orton in a really good match, one of the best matches post-WrestleMania. And, it was a lot of fun. Sheamus, of course, had an interview with Adam, well, not interview, but he confronted Adam Pearce. Whereas Adam Pearce, kind of reminded him that John Cena, which, of course, Sheamus says that he's not John Cena. John Cena used to have these open challenges with the U.S. title. So, Sheamus, of course, is expected to take up the mantle. Moving on, we see Lana and Naomi pick up a victory over Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. And, of course, this was with the help of Mandy and Dana Brooke. Unfortunately, women's matches I often rating to, not because the women's action is bad, because the length is not what I expect it to be. Then, of course, Bad Bunny and Damian Priest shows an interview of theirs from post-WrestleMania. Bad Bunny is beginning his tour, so he's not involved in WWE anymore, but, of course, they're building on Damian Priest since, which is good stuff. Miz TV, you have Maurice and Miz having this edition of Miz TV, interrupted by Damian Priest. Of course, we have New Day and Riddle with some more hilarity. These guys, I love Riddle just about everything. You could tell how much McMahon must love Riddle, because Riddle's on the TV almost 24/7. Elias and Jackson Riker, go at it kind of with the New Day. Then we see Elias defeat Kofi Kingston. A match that was kind of too short for my liking. It was good, but it wasn't long enough. It's usually what takes off points for WWE matches anyways, is usually the length for me. Alexa had her playground, and she continues to introduce this doll, which I strongly suspect that this little doll of hers is possessed. I think that the doll is possessed by Sister Abigail. So, I wonder if I'm wrong, but my suspicion is, look at how fast Sister Abigail, or Abby the Witch in the Firefly Funhouse, look how fast she reacted to Alexa Bliss to her leaving, to her betraying Bray. She was good riddance to her, she was the most animated about it. And everyone's like, oh, look, I mean, but it's just, she's almost like she's trying to push you away from recognizing that she's behind this. So that's at least my suspicion. I could be wildly off base, but I think it makes more sense. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, they have an interview. It's interrupted by Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. And of course, Angel Garza comes out. Because this is sadly what he's been reduced to is like this, romantic guy who just goes around, kind of harasses the women in the back. He's really talented in the ring. They just don't know what to do with him, unfortunately. And he's another one of those victims of when Vince gets really high on someone, and then next thing you know, he just gives up on them because they're not captivating him. Drew McIntyre takes on Mace and T-Bar. He wins by disqualification as Braun Strowman comes down to save the day for Drew. Braun and Drew then lose to Mace and T-Bar by disqualification. And of course, then you see Drew and Braun ripping off the mask of Mason T-Bar. So finally, we see Dominik Dijakovic and Dio Maddin without their mask. But I'm glad they're keeping their names because, especially Mace, I really like that name. Anyways, Damian Priest defeats The Miz in a match. Not long enough, but at least showcasing their talents. Sheamus having a promo where he's in like opening the to anyone, and then he gets an answer from Carrillo. So yeah, heck yeah. I mean, we're actually seeing Carrillo doing something. So I'm happy for him. The cousin of Angel Garza, obviously related to Hector Garza, the famous Garza family. Yeah, great stuff. And then we see Charlotte and Asuka in a great main event match. Asuka wins, and then of course in the post match, Charlotte beats the hell out of a referee, getting a suspension, which of course was temporarily, but it was reduced significantly, as you'll see in the next episode of Raw. Alright, NXT. Excellent episode of NXT. It got a 10. NXT usually finds itself in the 10 territory for me. Opening was great. Kyle O'Reilly had a promo where he's kind of cheesy. He's like over the top about like how great he is and stuff. And then of course Cameron Grimes comes out there, suggests that he starts selling merchandise with Kyle O'Reilly. Then he gets beat up by Kyle O'Reilly. So that's good stuff there. Sarai has a promotion for her, and we see Zoe Stark alongside her with Regal coming in, and then they suggest that Sarai's first match should be against Zoe Stark. LA Knight has another excellent promo, as always. Great stuff. And then he defeats Dexter Lumis. Of course, this is followed by a kiss. This is followed by some kind of controversy over a kiss regarding what's-her-face. Oh my god, Indy Hartwell. Sorry. And then, of course, The Way. They get involved here. They're trying to keep Indy away from Dexter. And Dexter is, of course, just captivated by her. But, the reason why the kiss is significant because, they apparently like kiss or something or look like they're about to kiss. Oh yeah, that's right. They look like they were about to kiss. Sorry. I'm trying to remember over 10 days ago. But either way, there was like controversy in this, at least for the match. Not so much like a actual controversy, but it distracted Dexter Lumis in his concern for Indy Hartwell. LA Knight got the victory, and it was a good match. Really good match. LA Knight's great, and I hope that he gets pushed to the moon. Leon Ruff had a promo in which, of course, he talked about how much of a badass he is. I like him. Great stuff between him and Swerve. We saw Io Shirai have an interview, about how she's basically recovering, about how she's going to go after the NXT Women's Championship again. Sadly, this means she's not going to be called up. But, if it's best for her to stay in NXT, so be it. I'm all for it. Grizzled Young Veterans, I love their promos. Can't say enough good about it. They ended up beating Breezango in a great match. Like, their tag team matches on NXT actually make sense, and they're good. I mean, granted, the AEW tag team division is the most stacked, I guess you could say arguably, in the entire industry, but sometimes their tag matches just don't make sense. I have never watched an NXT tag team match that doesn't make sense, that doesn't fit within a grander storyline. The AEWs are just kind of like haphazardly thrown together, and it's kind of annoying. Anyways, moving on. We see The Way with Indy, of course, obviously distracted. And then, of course, Bronson Reed comes into the mix here, as obviously Johnny Gargano is in Bronson Reed's crosshairs. Cameron Grimes has an interview, of course, and then finds out that Ted DiBiase bought some kind of stock or whatever the heck it was. But either way, DiBiase snatched it from underneath Grimes, and it's just good stuff here. Grimes is like, oh, DiBiase! Like, I love it. Zoe Stark and Sarai had a great match. Surprisingly great. Because NXT does it right. They just do. And this match, Sarai won, which makes sense. Then Toni Storm came down, beat up Sarai, or rather Zoe Stark, and Sarai comes to Zoe Stark's aid as Toni Storm has to run away. Raquel Gonzalez, Dakota Kai have an interview, and that's all good stuff right there. Indy, Hartwell, and Candice are then in the back. Dexter comes into the picture, distracts Indy Hartwell, kind of lures her into this back room, and then of course we see Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart beat the hell out of Candice LeRae. Kind of looking like bad girls here, but it is what it is. I still enjoy them regardless. And then we see Kushida defeating Oni Lorcan. Great stuff here for the Cruiserweight title and open challenge here. Kushida and MSK then deal with Legado del Fantasma. So, this of course leads to the 6-man tag and the next week in the main event. Mercedes Martinez, just excellent. I'm a huge fan of Mercedes Martinez. I love her theme song. It's one of the favorite things about it. But her look, her approach in the ring is just, I don't know how the main roster messed her up. Skipped out on this. Why put her in Retribution? She doesn't need Retribution. Vince just needs to pay attention to NXT, I think. My honest opinion. And then we go on to The Way again. They get some good news about the tag team challenge coming up soon. And, Candice LeRae, she's just all beat up and everything from what happened from Ember and Shotzi. And, everyone leaving yeah. And then, she's just left it oh my god, I just went through this hell. So great stuff. Imperium then had a promo. I can't stress enough how much I like Walter. Walter's one of my favorites in wrestling right now. And Imperium, I love the stable. I know some people may consider it to be boring, but I love the idea behind it. All the superstars in it are great, but especially Walter. You don't have it without Walter, and he is just, I can't wait to see eventually when he makes it to the main roster, and he's taken seriously, because this guy's a beast. So then we have Imperium. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. All that talking, eventually I was going on. Then we have Imperium defeating in a great tag team match. Everrise, I'm sad for them because they always lose. But you want to cheer for them in a way. You want to see them succeed, but that's not what was in the cards right here. Then we see Karrion Kross and Scarlett having confrontation somewhat with Kyle O'Reilly, kind of letting them know they're paying attention. And then O'Reilly defeats Cameron Grimes in the main event. A great match, once again, earned its 10. AEW from the next night. Remember, this is the second time that Dynamite and NXT are not competing against each other, and it's good stuff. A strong episode of AEW, got a 9.88, which, if I'm not mistaken, is actually a rating that is higher than what I gave Raw. Yep, by a 0.03. But it was a good show. We saw Ricky Starks have a promo, pretty decent. Adam Page and Starks had a really good match. Page post-match we saw Starks, of course, and Hook and Page and Dark Order, and then Cage and Taz all getting into the mix here. Kind of starting things off in chaotic form. Penta, El Cielo Miedo, rather, he had a promo. I'm kind of a little bit soured on him, but either way, he gives a great match. He took on Trent, as they put it. And of course, I gave that match a 10, and this was just a really good match, as you could expect, especially from Penta. The Pinnacle then had an interview, and everything about the Pinnacle I like. They are just very well done. Obviously supposed to be a modern day Four Horsemen. Either way, it's good stuff. Shida and Ty Conti had a video package. I was kind of meh about it, and actually kind of messed up my rating here, I just noticed. But anyways, it doesn't matter. I can even just edit that and make it a 10. While I wasn't too crazy about the video, thing is, I could just give it a 10. I guess it touched all the bases it needed to. Anyways, women's title matchup between Shida and Conti was really good. Probably the best match of the night. And they, Shida retained, as you might expect, but it was a great match. Then we saw Britt Baker and Shida having a confrontation there after the match as Britt Baker came out, hinting that she is now the number one contender. Good stuff. Miro, looking ever so beastly, suggesting he's gunning for world title status, and that if Sabian doesn't get on board, he's not going to care about him anymore. So I like Miro, and they're finally doing right by him. get them away from that stupid video game stuff. Inner Circle had an interview / promo, and it was great stuff. You saw Chris Jericho best, which is on the mic right now. He's just really good, and he's never going to stop being one of the best ever. The Factory. I'm not like entirely crazy about this stable, but it's okay. They had a promo which was good. QT Marshall then defeated Billy Gunn. It was an okay match, but it also kind of felt a little bit sloppy to me. But I gave it a 9, so that segment got a 9.5. Post-match, QT Marshall, Billy Gunn, Dustin, Ogogo, they call him, and Camarado, I think I wrote his name down. They had a little bit of a squabble afterward, obviously. Team Omega, which I don't know what else to call it, the Elite, I guess, the new Elite. They had a promo, and then Moxley and Eddie Kingston tried to kill them, but then there was no one in the truck. So, yeah. And, of course, some craziness happened with that. Christian Cage defeated Will Hobbs in a really good match. And the main event, by the way, I want to say about Christian, I think AEW is doing okay with Christian. I don't want to see him pursue the world title, but I don't know, it's hard to tell where they're going with this. So I don't even know who they're going to have take on Omega for the world title at Double or Nothing, and we're only weeks away from the pay-per-view. So come on, you guys got to get on the ball about this. TNT Championship match. Darby Allin defends successfully against Jungle Boy. A great match, but who the hell was going to win this thing? I mean, come on. We all knew Darby Allin was going to win it. I don't see them taking that title off of Darby Allin unless it's probably at Double or Nothing. Jungle Boy, like I said, lost, but put up a great fight. Then we see, we see Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page come down and attack everyone, followed by Sting and Lance Archer trying to save the day. Great ending segment, and that was that. So SmackDown got the second highest rating of the week for April 23rd, 2021. I give it a 9.91. So obviously a tick higher than AEW, but a little bit lower also than NXT. So things kick off with Roman Reigns with the Bloodline having like a review video. Great stuff here. Then we saw Seth Rollins and Cesaro, then Uso, then Daniel Bryan, and then Roman Reigns. It's like this thing just keeps piling up. You keep seeing things happening, drawing attention to the top of the roster, and you just know this means Cesaro is likely to challenge Roman Reigns at WrestleMania Backlash. I'm just going to call it Backlash because I hate saying that. Come on. Anyways, Seth Rollins then took on Cesaro and Daniel Bryan because, that led to a huge fight. Cesaro and Daniel Bryan won. And then Daniel Bryan basically challenged Roman Reigns on behalf of Cesaro, with Uso saying that Cesaro's going to have to get through him first. So we would see that later on in the show. Then, of course, after this, we see Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville with Apollo Crews, the Intercontinental Champion, and Commander Aziz. And, of course, Aziz, we know he's Dabba-Kato, but let's move on. So this was good stuff here. Now, I'm into this story. I know not everyone is. Jey Uso had an interview. Good stuff here. He's always really good at showing how tough he is, and helping to make you take seriously the bloodline. As I'm pretty sure that's what they call this stable. I'm very sure I've heard them called that before. Anyways, Tamina Snuka then took on Nia Jax in a short match, but she won. So stuff. Advancing the story with Tamina and Natty pursuing the women's tag team titles. Kevin Owens had an interview, and Big E kind of intervenes because Kevin Owens is challenging for the Intercontinental title. That's what Adam Pearson was talking about with Apollo and Aziz. And then, of course, Big E saying "Hey, look, you're jumping the line and challenging for the Intercontinental title." Owens is like, "Hey, I deserve this too. I've been working my ass off." So then you see some tension, and Big E kind of teasing, as people have pointed out, a heel turn. So we'll see if that materializes. Daniel Bryan and Adam Pearce, of course, have a little meeting there. I can't remember all the details of what happened there, but obviously advancing this Cesaro story, as well as Daniel Bryan still being somewhat in the title picture. Then we see Intercontinental Championship match. Apollo successfully defending against Kevin Owens. Of course, a little bit of shenanigans in here, as you might expect. But in the post-match, we saw some more chaos. Paul Heyman having an interview talking about how Jey Uso is going to basically defend the line here. And, so move on from there. Apollo Crews has an interview. Big E, of course, gets involved with Aziz, of course, intervening as well. Good stuff here because I do enjoy that storyline between Apollo and Big E. Aleister Black this part right here became probably my favorite part of SmackDown. Aleister Black had an excellent segment here. This like really dark like animation approach to his storytelling. Like, I love this about Aleister. I think that they're reviving Aleister in a great way, and I think McMahon may very well love this. Like, the guy is talented, he just needed a story, and this gives him a story. This makes him a character you're going to care about. I love this. The Dirty Dogs had an interview. I always love the Dirty Dogs. Ziggler and Rude, great stuff. Street Profits got involved. Bayley, of course, came in, and then Bianca Belair had to beat the crap out of Bayley. So, yeah, great stuff. Bianca and Bayley having some more stuff going on. Alpha Academy, well, this actually, they didn't beat each other up yet during that previous segment, but Bianca came down, which indicates that, hey, look, now it's time for Bayley and Bianca to kind of go at it. The Mysterios, actually, this was the main event. The Mysterios took on the Alpha Academy in a great tag team match. I love both of these tag teams. Loving what they're doing with Otis right now. The Alpha Academy is just awesome. Mysterios looking like top tag team contenders. Great stuff. And then, of course, we end the show with Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, Uso, and Heyman. All this chaos. No match here. But letting you know, like, after all this segment, that the next week, Daniel Bryan is going to have to... Oh, I remember now. Sorry, I just remembered. This is where Daniel Bryan basically said, you need to offer up a challenge. You need to offer up an opportunity to Cesaro. And they gave him all night. And of course, and that's where, of course, where Uso was like doing an interview. Either way, he's still basically promoting the idea of Roman being basically the top dog. And they're not really using that right now, but him being the head of the table. And there was this mystery about whether or not Roman Reigns would accept the challenge. Daniel Bryan was kind of Cesaro's advocate, but then Roman said that Cesaro is beneath him, but he would defend it against Daniel Bryan only because he wants to get rid of Daniel Bryan, because the catch was that Daniel Bryan would have to put up his time in SmackDown on the line. So if he lost on SmackDown, he would be banned from SmackDown. So that led to next week. Great stuff there. Raise the stakes for the next week. And moving on to Raw, April 26th here. So this is the last week that I missed out on, but we're going to get into this. It's almost going to be an hour. Actually, when I combine it with all the other parts of this video, it's going to be over an hour. Anyways, moving on. Raw, April 26th, 2021 was a better episode, according to my ratings here, than the previous SmackDown, because I gave it a 9.94. Great episode of Raw, great video package. The video package, of course, for actual Raw, I'm like, oh my god, they brought it back. But Mace and T-Bar had a promo. And then, of course, we saw Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre come out. Braun came out. Braun, of course, suggesting that he should challenge Mace and T-Bar to a handicap match. T-Bar and Mace then took on Braun in a handicap match, but Braun won it by DQ. Then Drew comes down to save the day. Drew and Braun then lose to Mace and T-Bar by countout. They keep doing these because they're teasing it. Like, they're trying to protect Mace and T-Bar. They're trying to boost them. Like, you can tell that. But they're also trying to protect Drew and Braun. But we'll get into why here a little bit later. But, of course, also involved in this was apparently a line that I loved so much that I had to write it down. And it said, clear the tracks. We need a bigger boat. Oh, yeah. Because that's where Adnan... the new commentator said, clear the tracks, we need a bigger boat. And then Corey Graves said, what kind of a boat that you know of that runs on tracks? Corey Graves, you can always count on him. Drew McIntyre, of course, Adam Pearce, because Braun Strowman wants to be in the title picture. Drew McIntyre's like, hey, this is not right. Because that was also part of that back and forth was Braun's like, I want in the title picture. So anyways, moving on. No. Excuse me. Drew McIntyre wants to take on Adam Pearce here. Sorry. This is why I should record these episodes right after the events. Just once again, I've been busy. Anyways, Miz TV, Elias and Riker doing Hey, like a new version of it. Kind of like a mellow version, like a different approach. Damon Priest then comes down, so there's a New Day. Then we have a 6-man tag where New Day and Damon Priest defeat Miz and Elias and Riker. Great stuff there. Sonya Deville then brings back Charlotte and makes her apologize to the official. With Adam Pearce coming down, the official apologizes, but and then of course, Charlotte makes the official apologize back to her too. and then of course Charlotte is reinstated before she made the official apologize. Adam Pearce is bitter about what happened and sees that Sonya Deville is kind of going off the rails. Braun Strowman, of course, with Adam Pearce saying he should be taking on, because before that, Drew McIntyre was like, yeah, like I said, he wanted to take on Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman now approaches Pearce, says he wants that if he wins, he is inserted into that matchup between Drew and Bobby Lashley for the world title at Backlash. Sheamus then has a promo. Humberto Carrillo gets involved again, gets his ass kicked again. Lashley and MVP then have an interview, reminding you, like, hey, Lashley's the world champion. Don't forget that. Rhea Ripley has an interview. Good stuff. Lashley and MVP then have a promo. Riddle has an interview. Orton, oh yes, the best line of the night comes right here. So Riddle is convinced at this point that he and Orton are going to have a tag team that they're going to call RK Bro. And then Orton's like, look, I don't know what planet you're from. And then Riddle responds, I'm from Earth. And then Orton's like, look, we have nothing in common. And he's like, yeah, we do. We're both from Earth. Like, God, Riddle, please never change. Ever. Never change. Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and Reginald are here in the limelight. Those flowers that come to Nia from I almost said Hector Garza, from Angel Garza. And then, of course, we see Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke getting beat up afterwards. Braun Strowman and MVP. Braun's basically trying to tell MVP off because MVP is more or less trying to organize Braun. He doesn't want Braun to be involved in a triple threat with the world title. But Braun's like, yeah, piss off. Alright, so Riddle and Orton, RK Bro, defeat Cedric and Shelton. Poor Cedric and Shelton. They are the the proverbial ragdolls here. Just getting beat up by everyone. Or whipping posts. Rhea and Nia and Shayna then take on Asuka, Lana, and Naomi in a really good 6-woman tag. I enjoyed this. Mandy and Dana Brooke then approached Sonya Deville about an opportunity. So yeah, good stuff there. Alexa's playground. We see more about Lily, her little possessed doll, which I still strongly suspect is Abigail. And then we see, which obviously is good stuff. I love all this stuff. So yeah, Charlotte then defeats Mandy Rose. Really good match. Drew McIntyre has an interview, but then Braun defeats Drew with an accidental distraction that costs Drew the match. Braun Strowman is now inserted into the world title match at Backlash. Moving on. The best show of the week, undoubtedly, NXT 10.24. That's what I gave the rating. And you're going to hear why here shortly. So, things kick off. Mercedes Martinez defeats Dakota Kai in a really good match by disqualification. Unfortunately, it was by disqualification, but it made sense. Raquel and Mercedes kind of get into it. Because Mercedes Martinez wants a women's title shot. Ember and Shotzi Blackheart have an interview. Then we see Frankie Monet, and of course flowers introduced here. And of course, these flowers are from Dexter. Alright, so then we move on to that. Cameron Grimes with this jeweler trying to get a fancy watch. Yeah, this is good stuff because it gets better. The GYV, Grizzled Young Veterans, they take on, well, not take on, but they have a promo, and then Ciampa and Thatcher come down and say, hey, look, you guys want to be rough and tough, you got to take on us. And of course, Thatcher, or Toothless Timmy as Ciampa calls him, and now he's got all the crowd chanting that, they say, hey, look, we have a matchup very soon because we need to see who's the best. I think that's a schedule for the next week. So, then we move on to Drake and, Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Drake suspects that Dane has arranged this matchup, this tag team match later on in the night with Imperium because Dane, he suspects, wants to betray him. Dane, of course, is saying, look, I don't want to betray you. We're a team. And yeah, it's just good stuff here. Xia Li and Boa and Tian Sha, I think that's how you pronounce it, having a little segment here reminding you that they're still here. I just want to see this go to the next level because I really like Xia Li. And I'm okay with this storyline, but I want to see this go to another level. Swerve then has a really good promo about his feud with Leon Ruff. They're going to have a blow-off in the near future, you know it. But this was good stuff here. And then we saw Tony Storm have the promo. Zeta, this newcomer, she defeated Tony, in part because of shenanigans from Zoe Stark. But either way, this was good stuff here. Legado del Fantasma had a promo. Great. I really enjoy this stable. You have no idea how much. Like, I really like this stable. Bronson Reed and The Way. Once again, Bronson looking like he wants that title. He wants that North American Championship. He's coming for it. LA Knight had a promo. Everrise, of course, got in the middle of it. LA Knight's not impressed. Not a promo, but an interview. Everrise, of course, they came in. They had a brief interview, but the interviewer wasn't impressed. Excuse me. Got that mixed up in my head. Austin Theory then took on Bronson Reed, with the stipulation being that if Bronson Reed won, he would get a shot at the North American title. Bronson Reed won, but only after there was a distraction with the drama between Indy and Dexter. So, yeah, great stuff. Even despite that distraction, Theory was still putting up a fight. It was a great match. MSK and Kushida had an interview. A lot of people are souring on MSK because I've mentioned in the past, they're kind of being shoved down people's throats. Not entirely, but I hope MSK turn heel in the near future and remain champions in the process. The Way then argued, but then they sent... Sorry. They argue with each other, but then, of course, they turn around and like, look, Indy, these flowers got sent to Ember and Shotzi by Dexter. They're trying to ruin your chances with Dexter. So they rile Indy up and send her on the warpath to go attack Shotzi and Ember. So we'll see where this is going. Imperium then defeat Killian Dane and Drake Maverick, but not before we see that Dane proves himself to Drake that he is on his side. But there's still kind of an open door. Drake is left to believe at certain times that Dane has abandoned him, but Dane, of course, ended the segment trying to tend to Drake's wounds. Pete Dunne then had a promo reminding us that he has a world championship material and that he is coming for the gold sometime in the near future. We finally see this jeweler segment with Cameron Grimes wrapped up, and of course he's arguing with the guy, but then out of nowhere, Ted DiBiase, after Cameron Grimes buys the watch, Ted DiBiase comes in like, it's not as good as mine, and then he's like, Ted DiBiase, because no matter what, he can never match up to Ted DiBiase. DiBiase with that classic laugh. Like, I died, because we've been teasing for weeks, even just a couple months, of Cameron Grimes always yelling out Ted DiBiase's name because he can't quite meet up to the standards of Ted DiBiase, and he finally meets him, and this is just golden stuff. I loved it. Ember Moon, Shotzi Blackheart, they have these gifts come to them. Indy Hartwell comes into the picture. Then we see Candice LeRae and the Robert Stone brand. They want tag team. They want a tag team shot, but not before Indy and Candice are going to get it. So Adam Cole had an exclusive interview. Great stuff. And O'Reilly, of course, was watching from afar. This was good stuff. But I will say, part of the reason why this is a 10.24 rating is because of that Cameron Grimes jeweler Ted DiBiase segment. It was just perfect. I freaking loved it. Then we see Diamond Mine video. Whatever the Diamond Mine is, I am curious and I am looking forward to this because, I don't know, it's pretty mysterious. Legado del Fantasma and an excellent 6-man tag defeats Kushida and MSK. Great stuff. I enjoyed it. So, we move on. AEW. April 28th, 2021. This got a 9.8. Not quite as good as the previous week, but still pretty decent. Kick things off with some stuff with Cage, Page, Dark Order, and Team Taz. They got into like a scuffle. Brian Cage did a powerbomb on Adam Page on the outside. Adam Page then lost to Brian Cage in a match that was more of a squash in favor of Brian Cage. So I gave it an 8, that match an 8, because I just wasn't a big fan of it. But either way, decent stuff. Team Omega then comes down. Not come down, but then they have a little segment here. More or less talk about, hey, look, Moxley and Eddie Kingston, they tried to basically kill us last week. But look, we're a step ahead of them. Young Bucks then defeat the Seidel brothers. No surprise there. SCU, then they come out and they say, look, we've got your number, Bucks. We haven't split up yet, despite the fact that we promised we would if we lost another match. But we're the number one contenders for the tag titles. We want that gold. So now we, of course, have this feud coming up. Then we see Jade Cargill. You know what? That meh segment. It's okay. I'm just less impressed with her over time because, like, yeah, we've seen her in the ring a couple times, but we're almost hearing the same crap week after week in these segments with Jade. It's just, I don't know. Penta then had a promo. Okay. And he and Orange then had a match. And, yeah, Orange Cassidy did well in that. Then we see Britt Baker having an interview. Once again, bragging that she's number one contender. And she's going to come for that title. Then we saw the parlay segment of the Pinnacle and Inner Circle to see who would get first dibs in the stepchild of War Games known as Blood and Guts. Yeah, and this was pretty good. The Inner Circle more or less gave the advantage to Pinnacle, saying that regardless, we're just going to kick the crap out of you. I think Sammy Guevara, after this segment, I think Sammy Guevara is headed towards betraying the Inner Circle. I think it's going to happen. I see it coming. Then after that, we see Eddie Kingston and Nakazawa, and with Omega, and then of course we see Moxley and Don Callis. I don't know, just a little bit of chaos here, and yeah, just good stuff because Moxley was wanting Omega, and they were forced to confront Nakazawa, but of course Moxley was like, "Hey, look, you guys can beat the crap out of Nakazawa all you want because it's not going to make a difference." Either way, they were forced into making a choice anyway because Don Callis, as Omega was being victimized, Don Callis was like, okay, you guys got what you want. So, yeah. Taz had an interview. Christian, of course, was involved in this. Okay. It's, I'm okay with this storyline. The thing I hate about is the premise that, this feud starts because Christian refused a somewhat stupid proposal that he joined Team Taz. Like, why would he have done so? So then we move on to Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander. Statlander has a great match here with Penelope Ford. I mean, they both put on a good show. Statlander wins. Makes sense. Number 10 then had a video kind of boosting up the possibility he's going to become the TNT champion. That's not what happened, but we'll get into that in a second. The Nightmare Family then take on the Factory. The Factory wins. Okay. And then, of course, the post-match chaos kind of saves the segment for me in a little way. Although the match itself wasn't terrible. It just wasn't terrible. I'm once again, I'm not that into the Factory. But okay. Sabian and Miro then had a confrontation where Miro beat the crap out of Sabian and said, "Oh, okay, I forgive you now." After he beat the crap out of him, like Sabian's like barely alive. Darby and then had a great defense against 10. I don't know why I ever thought 10 even possibly had a chance because Darby Allin's being protected. He retains. Then we of course see Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky getting involved again with Sting, number 10, Archer, and Vance all getting into the picture here. So great episode, and not as good as the previous week, but still pretty good. Final thing we're covering here, SmackDown, April 30th, 2021. I'll be recording the top 10 or whatever when I wake up. So SmackDown here, April 30th, we see things kick off with a preview of the night. Then we saw the opening, and then we saw Pyro. Yes! Indicating this is going to be a big episode of SmackDown. This episode I gave it a 10 because it was practically perfect. Bianca Belair had a video, and then she came out, Dirty Dogs came out, Strip Profits came out, and then we also saw Bayley come out. So, a little bit of drama here. 6-person tag team match, so a mixed tag team match, but with 6 people. Second time they've done that recently. Bianca, Street Profits defeated Bayley and the Dirty Dogs. Pretty good match. Daniel Bryan then had an interview about, the stakes that were up for grabs here. Bryan said that if he won the title, he would give a shot to Cesaro. Then we see Seth, his predictions. He offered his predictions for the night, and he had a really good segment. I actually because they were really good, but Seth Rollins predicted that Daniel Bryan would win, and that Seth would go on to beat the crap out of Cesaro, preventing him from having a push. Nia Jackson, Shayna with Reggie, they had an interview interrupted by Natty and Tamina. Good stuff. Tamina and Natty then defeated Shayna and Nia Jax, sealing the fate for them to have another shot at the women's tag team titles. I am enjoying all of this. I just am. I mean, it is great stuff. Booker T then had his predictions. He predicted Roman Reigns. One thing I've learned about watching WWE over the past couple years is that every time Booker T offers a prediction for something, pay attention to it. Because the man, he seems to be that clue from Vince McMahon. his predictions seem to be that clue from Mr. Man as to what the outcome is going to be. Good stuff. I mean, his prediction, like, I already had the strong, like, I already knew Roman Reigns was likely going to win this thing. But, God, like, remember, Booker T, he's like a prophet. Anyways, Nakamura had a prediction, predicted Daniel Bryan. Then we see Dominic and Ray have an interview. I am into this tag team, so hopefully they become tag champions in the near future. Another excellent promo from Aleister Black follows. Great stuff here. Almost earned a 15 for me. I almost gave it. Backtrack because like 15s. Apollo had a video here afterward. Just fear. He's Intercontinental title. Like I really would like to see him pursue the Universal title, but we'll see. Then New Day predictions for Roman Reigns match. Xavier Woods, Kingston predicted Roman Intercontinental title match. Big E